Take the opportunity today to go over the writing that we did and just have a little time for reflection and break down the sort of structure of what's appropriate writing. So obviously you were given an excerpt from 1984 in a cartoon, and you were asked to look at how both showed the global issue of the desensitization of violence in times of conflict. The idea of desensitization, you see it so much, so you become normalized to it, numb to it, you stop caring about it, whatever. So the first thing we do whenever we have an argument, whether it's in writing or orally, like whether we're giving a presentation or in writing, is we need a claim. The claim is the most important thing because everything after is what we're trying to prove here. So what we do to make it really, really simple for you is we basically say, the text, 1984, and what it shows us about the world. This is our level 3, our bigger world thing. So in the context of the IO, for instance, it might be like, what's the global issue it shows? If you were doing a paper 2 essay, it might be like, how does it explore a particular theme or idea? But it's a real world, sociological, cultural, human thing that the book or the text is able to show outside of itself. We want to look outside of the book, the way the book connects to the world at large, because otherwise, if we're only analysing the things in the book and not connecting it to outside, it becomes more of a boring subject. We need to make these bigger connections. So we say what the text does, what the text does outside of itself, so what it connects to in the world, so in this case, showing this globalization, desensitization and violence, and then how it does that through things inside the text. So this could be through techniques, like through imagery, metaphor, whatever, but I like to do it through bigger macro things, through what I would call level 2. So this might be like characterization or character relationships. It might be a particular scene or plot point. It could be the setting and elements and ideas within the setting. So in this case, it shows this globalization through the characterization of the passing children. Now, in doing this, I'm able to pick loads of evidence providing that it relates to the characterization of the passing in relation to desensitization of violence. If I just said through metaphor, or through imagery, or through semantic field or something, I'm really limiting my evidence. So I like to do these bigger macro things. So once I've got that, it's really easy for me to go get evidence. And I'm going to have 2 blocks of evidence. In this case, it's the kids playing games. And then in the second one, it's the fact that they wanted to go see a hanging. So playing violent war games and then going to see a hanging. So both are examples of characterization of the kids in relation to this desensitization of violence, but they're a little bit different. I don't want to have the same stuff again and again and again, repeating myself. So I want to have stuff that's a little bit different. So you'll see in both, I've got these quotes that show characterization to highlight desensitization of violence. And I've embedded, which means I've tucked the words of the author into my own words, and I've contextualized. So a toy automatic pistol on its own, or the uniform of the spies on its own, makes no sense. Who has the toy automatic pistol? Who's wearing the uniform of the spies? When? Why? In what context? So it's when Winston arrives, the neighbour, the boy, emerges with this toy gun, and he's wearing the uniform of the spies, and he speaks viciously. So you can see I've taken the author's words, tucked them in, like in bed, like tucking it in bed, but embed into my context. Same down here. So the boy was roaring. As you can see, all the evidence here supports the claim. Like, this is really, really important. I've got this good argument here. If I can't prove that argument with good quotes, then I've lost the argument, and therefore I fail. Right? So we have to prove the argument. So you get really, really good quotes. Once I've got these quotes, it's time to analyse, and I like to zoom in and zoom out. You can see in both contexts, I say here. Here is a tie that connects my analysis to the quotes that come before. So just by putting that, or I could have said in this quote, or in this context, something that just connects, and I follow with my analysis. You can see I've highlighted in blue all of these transitional words here, like additionally, what's more. So I might start to illustrate here, because I'm illustrating my point, my argument with this evidence. So here, to show you that I'm going to be analysing now. And I always zoom in. So I identify the choices, not necessarily techniques. It could essentially be the children saying something, or it could be a plot point or a character action. But if I've got a technique, I'll obviously identify it. But I need to identify the choice. And then I need to say what it does. Does it imply? That is to say something indirectly. Does it emphasise? Does it draw attention to a particular idea or concept? about them, or does it evoke something in me? Does it make me think of a particular idea or a particular feeling, right? So here the imagery of the children playing violent games implies that to them they find violence amusing. The imagery of the toy pistol suggests that violence has been made something fun. We might say the diction of chant, the word choice chant, has connotations with tribalism, like you chant a tribal song, or roaring has connotations with predatory animals. And these things emphasize the aggression. So I zoom in and I talk about these choices, talk about the effects they have. I'm very, very specific, and I'm connecting choice to real effect. And then I just explain why. So I say, because it has connotations with this, or because toys are often seen as like fun and games. So I explain why as well. Once I've done this, I then need to connect the smaller micro choice. These are the techniques, the individual words, the things we only see once in the context, to something bigger. So this can be the setting or the character, because the character is bigger than the choice. This character appears in several choices, several pages, several chapters, or the whole book, but the choice only appears once. So I might say, because of this imagery, the setting is shown to be a place where violence is normalized. Now, because I've put via this, or therefore, or thus, because I've used these terms, it shows I'm making cause-effect relationships. I'm highlighting cause-effect relationships. That's a form of analysis. So all the analysis comes in me connecting the imagery to the effect, and then I justify, which is evaluation. And I connect the choice to the larger setting, another connection, more analysis. Again, the diction implies this because, so I've got diction, choice, effect, so that's a connection, because that's an explanation, that's evaluation. Connecting again to something bigger, cause and effect, thus more connection, more analysis. Now I've got these two blocks of evidence, so I do this twice. In addition, the chanting, we want to see the hanging. Diction, the chant does this, the repetition does this. I connect the repetition to the actual effects. The repetition implies they've got nothing on their mind. They keep repeating it. It's the only thing they're thinking of. They can't think of anything else, so they can't say anything else. The grammar might even evoke a lower mental state because it's not thought out properly. It's very limited. And because of those choices, the young girl is characterized as normalizing violence, and the setting is also obviously a place that has violence. And then I need to finish my paragraph with my big conclusion, my level 3, which I've done in bold here. So again, I've got this cause-effect language, consequently, showing the connection. 1984 shows the global issue. So I've reiterated what I've said up here. The novel shows this global issue. And then I need to go a step further. How does it do that, and what's it saying about that? So it conveys the message that those who grow up in violent contexts are more likely to normalize violence. So it shows this issue, and it says this about the issue. And it does so by exemplifying this behavior in the children. So again, just reiterating how. So this is like a perfect example. I've got two blocks of evidence, which are different, but both show the same thing. I zoom in and I analyse the choices, zoom out, analyse what those choices tell me about the larger elements, the macro stuff, the setting, the character, whatever. And then finally, I link this to my claim, my argument, shows the global issue, and I explain in what's the message and in what way does it do that. The same thing here. So we've got the Man and the Astani cartoon, the village and the foxes, and it's able to show the same global issue through juxtaposition and metaphor. So I've got this juxtaposition. The whole cartoon's black and white, but the violence is on a smartphone, which is colour and photorealistic. So we've got cartoon versus realism, black and white versus colour. And because of this juxtaposition, the violence becomes the graphic weight, and this can imply society where violence is prominent. It becomes an attraction in the same way we are attracted to graphic weight. Because I'm using the same language, I help to establish a connection. The juxtaposition emphasises the vibrancy and excitedness, because colour often is associated with being excited and liveliness and vibrancy. And therefore, because of these choices, thereby, this shows that the community, the setting in the picture, is one that takes pleasure and joy in violence. What's more, so again, I've got this other bit of evidence, two blocks of evidence, because we're in grade 10 now, not grade 6. Nayastani draws the bystanders as anthropomorphic foxes. So that's an interesting word. That just means animals behaving like humans, using phones to watch and capture violence. Now, because of this, it creates a visual metaphor. It compares bystanders of violence to foxes. And because foxes are predatory animals, it implies that those who watch and seem to enjoy violence within these violent contexts are violent themselves. Therefore, the tone is judgmental and critical to those who view violence as a form of entertainment. And therefore, the idea that there is a relationship between those witnessing violence and a decent, that's not right, is explored. There you go. In particular, the cartoon creates the message that witnessing violence and seeing violence as a form of entertainment can result in people becoming violent themselves. So we finish with restating this and then like adding to it by saying like this is the message. But you can see we've got the same thing again. I begin with my argument. This is the most important thing because everything else follows. All of this is evidence of the argument. You'll see here I've still contextualized, I've explained the things I'm going to be analysing, the backstory behind it. Then I zoom in and talk about the choices and then connect the choices to bigger parts, setting, character, tone or mood. Same again down here. And I finish with this big message. So if you're writing like this and we're zooming in and we're zooming out and we're using this language, you know, when we're talking about choice, this choice has this effect because we maybe having two choices, moreover this other effect has this choice because, and those two things create this larger element like setting, character, tone and mood, which thereby shows the global issue this way. If we're doing it this way, when we're doing it like this, we're automatically analysing, we're automatically evaluating. Yeah, we've got justification and explanation built in. We're making lots and lots of connections. We're breaking things down and connecting it to bigger parts, right? We've got so much analysis and evaluation, but ideas are also built on one another in a logical and coherent manner. We're zooming in and zooming out, so it's logical and we're building stuff. And so this is really what gets the big bullet points, right? So we want to be doing it like this. If you are, fantastic. If you're not, you can obviously go to the website and review the little elements. Like if you're stuck with claims, you can review that. Or if you're stuck with how to embed evidence, you can again go and review how to do that. If you're looking for the language to talk about techniques or the things we can talk about in level 2 or how to add to our message, there's sentence stems, there's practice stuff, there's videos all on the website that you can use. Okay, perfect.